The walls here are made of absence. I can feel it in my fingertips when I press them flat against the plaster, as though the very idea of a wall has decided to retreat, leaving only the ghost of its outline in the air. I've been tracing these contours for days, perhaps years, since the light began to fray at the edges, since the color of the floor stopped speaking its own name. You see, the trouble with shapes is that they think they're permanent. But permanence is just a rumor told by things that have forgotten how to dissolve. I've painted my hands black with the dust of half-formed thoughts. When I spread my fingers against the window, the shadow they cast is not mine. It's a silhouette of what I might have been if I'd learned to hold onto the edges of things. The sky outside is a bruise, but bruises, too, lie. They pretend to be maps of violence, but really they're just trying to remember where the light hit them last. There's a chair in the corner. Or rather, the chair is trying to be a chair. Its legs splinter like failed metaphors, and the fabric of the seat is unraveling into threads that whisper in a language I once knew. I sit here anyway. The act of sitting feels like a rebellion. The chair's idea of support is collapsing, syllable by syllable, into the grammar of a different language altogether. I am sitting in the shadow of a concept that has forgotten its noun. Do you know what it's like to watch a color fade? Not the slow dying of a sunset, but the sudden, violent disappearance of the word red from the tongue of the world. I've seen it happen. Anything loses its name, and suddenly you're left holding the husk of a sound that used to mean something. The apples in the kitchen turn to pulp before my eyes, their rotten accusation. Now the knives weep rust into the sink, and the walls drink it like a bitter tea. I've tried to fix it. I've tried to stitch the world back together with threads spun from the silence between heartbeats. But the stitches unravel as I watch, each knot a tiny rebellion against the pull of gravity. There's a crack in the ceiling, widening like a smile. It's almost a smile. The plaster crumbles where it used to cling. I imagine the building is trying to forget itself, brick by brick, as though the act of remembering is too heavy. The telephone on the table hasn't rung in years. Its cord is a dead vine, coiling away from the receiver. I pick it up sometimes, just to hear the silence hum. It's a silence that tastes of static and unsent letters. The dial tone is a lullaby for the dead. I dream in palimpsests. Last night, I was a child again, drawing a house with a stick in the sand. The waves erased it as I worked, so I drew over the water's edits, layering lines until the tide and I were collaborators in an endless, contradictory architecture. This morning, my hands were wet and gritty, the salt stinging like a confession. The mirror in the hallway shows me a stranger. Not because it lies, but because it tells the truth in broken syntax. My face is a draft of a face, a sketch that the artist abandoned mid-stroke. My eyes are the color of a sky that's decided it no longer wants to be blue. I've started collecting fragments. A shard of cracked glass, a frayed shoelace, a button missing its buttonhole. They're not keepsakes, they're evidence. Evidence of a world that's peeling itself apart, one sticker of reality at a time. Last week, I found a feather lodged in the hinges of the wardrobe. It wasn't there when I checked yesterday. Or was it? The line between then and now is a thread someone keeps tugging. The clock on the wall lost its numbers long ago. Its hands still twitch, though. They point at empty spaces, at the ghost of 5 o'clock, at the hour that slipped through the cracks in the floorboards. I wind it anyway. Ritual is the religion of the lost. I keep waiting for the rain. Not the rain itself, but the moment just before it begins, the way the air thickens, the scent of possibility rotting in the breeze. But it never comes. Only the weight of the sky pressing down, a pressure that leaves fingerprints on the skin. There's a door I can't open. Not because it's locked, but because the handle has dissolved into a question mark. The keyhole stares back at me, a small, hungry mouth. Sometimes I press my ear to the wood and listen for the echo of another room. What I hear is the sound of a word being unspoken, syllables unraveling into dust. I've written letters to the walls. They read them, I think. They let the ink seep into their pores, becoming part of the wallpaper's slow decay. The letters apologize for their own existence. The walls sigh in reply, the plaster sweating. Do you know how to measure a concept? I've tried using a ruler, but the numbers melt. A measuring cup? The emptiness overflows. I've measured it in the space between a heartbeat and its echo. In the gap between I remember and I forget. It's widest there, that chasm. The radio in the corner plays static now. Always has, really. But yesterday, a single note cut through the noise, a middle C, trembling like a moth. It lasted 3 breaths. Now the static is louder, as though the air is trying to forget the note ever existed. I've started sleeping with the lights on. Not to see better, but to drown in the dim glow of a bulb that's been dimming for decades. The shadows stretch and yawn, their edges fraying. They don't sleep. Shadows don't sleep. They wait. The teacup on the table is half full. Or half empty. Or neither. The tea itself has long since hardened into a relic of warmth. I tap the cup with my finger. It rings like a bell that's forgotten its chime. The echo sticks to the walls. I've stopped counting the days. Time here is a leaky hourglass, the sand shifting from bottom to top, from past to future, from loss to loss. The grains stick together in clumps, forming temporary constellations that mean nothing and everything. The window panes are cracked in patterns that look like hieroglyphs. I've tried to read them, but the cracks are just cracks. They're not writing a story. They're the story itself, fraying at the seams. I've found a photograph in my pocket. It's of a me I don't recognize, standing in a garden that's now a memory of a garden. The edges are curled, the image bleeding into sepia. When I hold it to the light, I see my reflection superimposed on the figure in the photo. We both look away. The telephone rings. I don't answer. The ringtone is a phantom limb, a vibration in a body part that's been amputated. The machine picks up, and the answering machine's voice says, "Hello," and then the line goes dead. The silence that follows is a language without vowels. I've started talking to the cracks in the ceiling. They listen, I think. They've seen it all before. They've seen concepts crumble, seen meanings unravel like shoelaces. They know the weight of a room that's trying to remember how to stand. The door creaks. It always does, even when it's closed. It's trying to tell me something. The hinges are out of tune, groaning a melody that ends before it begins. I've oiled them, but the sound persists. Oil doesn't fix what's unfixable. I've painted the walls with shadows. The brushes are too wide, the bristles too brittle. The paint pools where it shouldn't, seeping into corners that aren't corners anymore. The room breathes in and out, a living thing that's decided to stop pretending it's inanimate. The clock strikes. There's no chime, but the walls shudder. The hands are both moving backward and forward at the same time. I've tried to rewind the day, to catch the moment before the concept slipped its moorings. But the film is scratched, the projector flickering. The light it casts is too bright, too dim, too late. The teacup has shattered. The shards are arranged in a circle on the floor, a mandala of failure. I step carefully around them. The floorboards creak like they're whispering a secret in a dead language. The cracks in the ceiling watch, unblinking. The radio plays a song I used to know. Now it's just noise, a melody disintegrating into static. The needle skips on the record, looping the same 3 seconds of a phrase I can't place. It's the sound of a memory that's been translated too many times. The words are fossils now, the vowels eroded by the tide of now. I've been writing my name in the dust. It appears and disappears, a phantom limb of letters. The E is always the first to fade. I rewrite it, but it's never quite right. The dust forgets. The dust is the best archivist here. It remembers only the shape of absence. The door opens. Or maybe it's the door trying to open. There's no one there. Just the wind, carrying the scent of rain that never falls. It leaves a damp stain on the wallpaper, a watercolor of longing. The stain spreads, a living stain, a stain that knows it's dying. I've been folding paper cranes from yesterday's newspapers. The ink bleeds when I fold the creases. The headlines dissolve into rivers of grief. The cranes take flight, but they're made of yesterday's lies. They sink to the floor, their wings heavy with the weight of a story that's been retold too many times. The window is a portrait of the street outside, but the glass is fogged with the breath of a ghost. I wipe it with my sleeve. The glass resists. It prefers the haze. The view beyond is a watercolor smudge, a landscape where the trees are too tall and the sky is too small. I've been carving my initials into the table. The wood resists. The knife slips, leaving only a scar. The initials bleed into the grain, becoming part of the furniture's slow death. The table sighs. Its legs are wearing down. It's learning to stand on less. The mirror shows me a stranger who knows my name. The stranger is learning to forget it. We smile at each other across the gulf of what's been unsaid. The mirror's silver backing is peeling at the edges, a map of continents that have stopped existing. The radio is playing a song now. I don't recognize it, but my body remembers the steps. I dance. The floor tilts. The walls lean in, pretending to be an audience. The cracks in the ceiling clap in Morse code. The rhythm is off. The door opens again. This time, there's a shadow in the doorway. A shadow of a person, all edges and afterthoughts. It asks, "Do you know what a concept feels like?" I open my palms. They're empty. The shadow shakes its head and slips through the wall. The clock's hands have stopped. Or maybe they're moving too fast to see. The numbers have been replaced with asterisks. I wind it anyway. The gears turn reluctantly, a funeral march in reverse. I've been feeding the cranes to the fire. They burst into flame, but the flames are cold. The smoke curls into shapes that could be letters, could be faces, could be nothing at all. The ash settles on the windowsill, a thin layer of what's left of the future. The walls sweat. They're crying salt water, I think. Or maybe the salt is just the wall's way of forgetting how to be solid. The water drips onto my shoulder. I taste it. It's the salt of other people's tears, borrowed and returned. The radio is silent now. The static has turned to silence. A kinder silence. The bulb in the lamp has dimmed to the color of a sunset that never happened. I sit in the half-light, tracing the cracks in the ceiling with my finger. They're mapping a path to nowhere, a journey that ends before it begins. The door is closing. It clicks shut. The latch is rusted, but the sound is sharp. A finality. Or is it a comma? The walls lean closer. The clock's hands have stopped again. Or are they moving in reverse? I pick up the teacup. The shards cut my palm. The blood pools, then dries, a red stain that refuses to fade. The floorboards drink it, a little more nourished. The walls sigh. The concept, when you finally hold it, is just a shape that knows it's not enough. It's the ghost of a handprint on a window, the echo of a laugh in an empty room. It's the space between the question and the answer, the pause where all the answers went to die. I light another candle. The flame is a stubborn thing, burning itself out to prove it can. The wax pools on the table, a small, temporary sea. I dip my finger in it. The warmth is a betrayal. The radio hums a note. A single note, unaccompanied. It's the sound of a door closing. Of a concept dissolving into the shape of its own absence. I lie down on the floor. The cracks in the ceiling become a map of constellations no one ever named. The walls hum along with the radio. The static is a lullaby. Maybe this is what it means to be the shape of a thing that was never quite solid. To exist in the space between the idea of a room and the room itself. To be the ghost of a gesture, the echo of a word that's been whispered too many times. The door opens again. Or does it? The wind slips in, carrying the scent of a place I almost visited once. I follow it to the window, but the glass is too thick, too stubborn. The outside is a riddle wrapped in fog. The walls are peeling now, layer by layer. The wallpaper beneath is older, more desperate. It's a pattern of birds fleeing a storm. The storm never came. The birds are fleeing nothing. I open the window. The air is thick with the scent of a rain that won't fall. The trees outside are still, but their branches are made of smoke. They point toward the horizon, which is just a concept, after all. The clock stops. The radio stops. The walls stop. I am almost a concept myself. A draft of a person. The walls lean in closer, whispering in the language of dust and decay. They say, stay. They say, go. They say nothing. The door is open now. The door is closed. The door is a question mark. I step into the hallway. The floor tilts. The walls stretch to swallow me. The ceiling cracks split like a smile. The concept is the shape of a question that forgets its own answer. The shape of a room that's learning how to forget itself. The shape of a heart that beats in reverse. I am the residue of a shape that was never quite solid. The door slams. The walls collapse. The radio plays a note that's gone cold. The concept is the space between the breath before and the breath after. It's the shape of a thing that was never meant to stay. The shape of an ending that forgets how to begin. The shape of a monologue that ends not with a period, but with a question mark. The shape of a concept is the shape of a thing that knows it's disappearing. And I am the echo of a voice that was never meant to speak. The door is gone. The walls are gone. The clock has unspooled into a thread of dust. There's a shape here. A concept. It's the shape of a thing that was.